Alright, the X-Man's coming to live on YouTube Live. I haven't been on a live feed in a while. Not even sure I've even been on live feed since I got into my accident. I know I've had a couple of videos, but I was going to do some other deductions down here. But as I was going to say earlier, I didn't do my recap yesterday. I probably should have did the recap yesterday. But obviously yesterday, the NFL playoffs, kind of just do a little recap. Obviously the Chiefs are beating the Texans with the referees getting involved, and Pat Mahomes getting the easy treatment with the referees. It seems to be a little bit over the top. Obviously, we all know that the Kansas City Chiefs, the fix is in for the Chiefs to go to the Super Bowl already. We already do know that, right? That's one of the things that I kind of was like a little disappointed with the pass interference calls and everything else that was going on. You know, kind of crazy. But, ultimately the Kansas City Chiefs as a franchise trying to go for a three-peat, but this isn't the way to do it. Should have to get the to that would be kind of crazy. They did sneak away and actually get a they kind of snuck away with one there. They're not going to score points as a franchise if that penalty that was called Holmes that shouldn't have been was happening. And ultimately, at the end of the day, they started to pull away against the Texans late in the game there, and they got a victory out of it in the loosest sense of the word. I just really don't understand the whole concept of what happened there. Defensively, the Houston Texans, I thought, played pretty good in that game, but the Kansas City Chiefs ultimately prevailed the victory at that point. This was 2 days ago. So also that night it was the other game. Oh yeah, the Detroit Lions. And I say this time and time again, and everybody's going to tell me, I get it that they were missing 8 guys on the back end of their team, but the Detroit Lions had won 14 or 15 games. I think they were 15-2, I believe. I don't think they lost more than 2 games. It didn't really make any sense to me. The Kansas City Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, rather the Detroit Lions laid an egg that way. Jared Goff is just not a good quarterback. I think people need to understand that. It has nothing to do with. I mean, they're going to make excuses for this man and say, well, he was a good quarterback. But the truth of the matter is, he threw terrible passes, much reminiscent of Eli Manning. And when he does stuff like that, it kind of reminded me of Eli Manning, how he used to throw to double coverage and just had a really, really terrible game. And the Detroit Lions were not ready for that game. As much as you want to say Dan Campbell's a hero and everything, well, now you're a one and done. You're a 14-win team, and now you're out of the playoff picture. It's not looking really too good, honestly. Oh, God. I can't take LeBron. I can't take him. He's such a fraud. He's such a fraud, LeBron. I just had to bring that up. LeBron's a fraud. I'm going to say that every day the rest of my life. But anyway, yeah, the Detroit Lions really laid an egg. More kudos to the Commanders for being ready for the game, being prepared. Jaden Daniels playing a really solid game. Terry McLaurin doing pretty good out there, and the Washington Commanders are now in the NFC Championship game as well. Surprisingly, as a 7 seed to be in the NFC Championship game, which means there's 5 other teams that could have been there didn't make it, alluding to the other game that was being played, the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles. My take from the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles game was, with inclement weather, ultimately I didn't really think that the Rams were going to stay within 14 points of that team anyway. That was my thing. I really didn't think that the Los Angeles Rams had what it took to go into Philadelphia in a cold weather environment, being that they're a warm weather team, with Matt Stafford, who honestly to me is pretty much an average quarterback at the end of the day, and win the football game. They did stay in the game, but ultimately the Philadelphia Eagles. And here's the thing: Jalen Hurts there was 4 plays that Jalen Hurts almost cost the Eagles a chance to win that game yesterday. At least there was a safety. a 15-yard loss, another 15-yard loss, and another 15-yard loss. At the end of the day, he has to be very fortunate that his team is a solid all-around team, with Saquon Barkley being the catalyst right now. He's been running hard. He's got almost had 200 yards rushing yesterday from scrimmage. He's been playing MVP football, and as much as I hate to say that, that's what the Philadelphia Eagles are at right now. And right now, they stand as a team that's playing at home. That they beat the Rams at a close one, even though I thought they should have destroyed the Rams. But the Philadelphia Eagles moved on victoriously to now play the Washington Commanders, or as I call them, the Commander Skins, next weekend in Philadelphia, in a very interesting game. And one thing that I'm going to say about it all is this. I know everybody's going to peg the Eagles to win the entire game, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders gave them a football game. I've said this year in and year out. The Commanders, I don't think are going to go in there and lay an egg. I think they're going to come in, they're going to play good football, fundamental football, and I think they're going to try to at least win the game. It really depends on if Terry McLaurin can get it going against the Eagle defense. I'm not sure really how that's going to work. You won't know till game time. But the Philadelphia Eagles right now seem a little, they won, but how impressive really were they as far as going in and taking over the game? We'll see. Ultimately, in another week, we're going to find out how good the Philadelphia Eagles really are against the Commanders. The Rams playing an underknown Rams team was a win, and it's a win that they should win. They needed to win that game. The defense played well enough to win. Jalen Carter was all over the place. He really was. Jalen Carter was everywhere. That guy is pretty good. Really, their defense all in a whole this year. Cooper DeJean, everybody, they've all played pretty good yesterday in order for the Eagles to win that football game. And kudos for the Eagles to move it on. And they're into the next round, which also leads to the other game number 4 that I would be talking about is the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, a lot of people are going to say, well, Lamar's window is closing quickly, and I do agree to some degree. Lamar Jackson's window is closing, but it's not just Lamar Jackson's that's closing. You kind of got to question what John Harbaugh's been doing, too. A lot of people are saying it's like, Mark Andrews made the drop and all that. But at the end of the day, everybody's been talking about how Mike Tomlin, he's been to the playoffs for like the last 10, 11, 12, 13 years or whatever, and he's won 10-plus games, then he can't get it done in the playoffs. Well, John Harbaugh hasn't really done anything that impressive since 2012. Granted, they won a Super Bowl, but at the end of the day, really, a lot of these Ravens teams, as stacked as they are, they haven't done it. They did it last year. They had home field against the Chiefs. Ballpark. Now, I think Taylor Swift has a lot to do with this, with the ref paying ability. I really think the Kansas City Chiefs have made themselves a all-star team of Hollywoodness. And what I mean by that is that they've allowed Hollywood to take over the NFL. I'm going to say this first and foremost every time I say it. Taylor Swift is probably the most overrated artist in America right now. People listen to her, and I just don't think she's that good of an artist. People are going to give her billions and billions of dollars and say she's great, and she's just overrated. At the end of the day, they continue to put her on there, and now they added Caitlin Clark into the mix, which is ridiculous to me. And obviously, we all know it's pretty much I would love to see the Buffalo Bills beat the Kansas City Chiefs, but the Buffalo Bills have to beat two components. They have to beat the Chiefs and the refs in Kansas City, and that's going to be very difficult to do when you have Taylor Swift standing there and all the cameras are rolling on Taylor Swift. So at the end of the day, you can't really go past that. With that said, we'll see what happens. But back to that last game, the Buffalo Bills and the kudos for the Buffalo Bills for making it happen. The Buffalo Bills came out. They played well enough to win the football game at home, and now they're going to have to go to Kansas City. But at the end of the day, the Baltimore Ravens, I'm not putting that whole thing on Lamar. Lamar had an amazing season. He did. He had 2 turnovers, which was unprecedented. But getting Derrick Henry, everybody thought that the Ravens were going to be a step ahead. Apparently, they didn't get even as far as they went last year. You kind of have to question the whole motive behind that. But they were played a really solid football. Unfortunately, they ran into the Buffalo Bills, and Mark Andrews dropped a crucial pass. It happens in life sometimes. You're not going to always get every single pass. A.J. Brown dropped a wide open pass yesterday, too. I think he dropped two of them, honestly. People won't talk about that because the Eagles won, quote unquote. But at the end of the day, I mean, the Baltimore Ravens played a much, much tougher opponent, I think, in regards of playing at Buffalo versus the Rams, who I don't think were really that good of a team. They just were in a weak conference and weak division, and they managed to sneak by at the end of the day. I mean, let's be realistic: the Seahawks and the Rams and the Cardinals are not perennial teams anymore. San Francisco, same thing. They're not. They didn't even make the playoffs. I mean, it just proved a point. Kyle Shanahan is about an average coach at best. Some reason they think he's as good as his dad. His dad was way better than he ever will be. Um, at the end of the day, so that division really wasn't really that good this year. The fact that the Rams had just enough with Cooper Kupp to get in there, they didn't really use Cooper Kupp enough. They didn't get the ball to Puka the way they were supposed to. Kyrie Williams was pretty much the whole factor for the Rams in that whole game. But I don't think they were that good of a team. I really don't. I think they were about an average team at best. And they proved that by getting eliminated again. But as I said before, the Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Detroit Lions all eliminated in their first game. It's ridiculous. I mean, I think maybe they need to change the format. Honestly, the NFL should kind of look at like rotating these divisions out and kind of like have other teams play other teams instead of having all the division games being played the same way. Just play one year and then one the other, and then maybe split it up with the NFC East and the NFC West and stuff like that. Something like switch the whole conference thing up. This way, you could really tell what kind of team a team like the Lions and the Vikings and the Packers were. Because to be honest with you, I can't even really tell out of the three which was playing the best football at the end of the year. Any of them. I think maybe Green Bay possibly could have been better than Detroit and all them. I mean, Detroit's going to make excuses about the injuries on the defensive end of the ball, but I mean, if they don't tighten that up and seriously look at another quarterback, because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think that Jared Goff is ever going to be able to take the Detroit Lions to the Super Bowl or even to the championship game. I know that they said, oh, well, he went to the Super Bowl against the Patriots a couple years. He did, but that year, that was one of the worst calls in NFL history, and the Saints got ransacked in that game, in that championship game. That was one of the worst calls in NFL history, and it favored the Los Angeles Rams at the time because they just wanted to see a LA team in the Super Bowl. That's exactly what it was. And then they did it again when they played the Bengals, and they cheated in that game, but that wasn't a pass interference against the Bengals, and the Bengals probably should have won a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow really should have a championship ring on his hand right now. It's a shame that never happened that way. But yeah, there'll be interesting games this weekend. So obviously the Commander skins against the Eagles. Josh Davis versus the Eagles, and Magic Johnson. And Philadelphia Eagles are going to have to do it one more time at home. We'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm not putting the Eagles as a heavy favorite in this game. Because just the way how Jalen Hurts did not play well, and he did. And people, if they say that he played well, they're fooling themselves. He really cannot. He holds on to the ball way too much. He's just fortunate enough he has a good offense around him to cover those flaws up. He is going to have to make it better because that team will not play like that every year. I can tell you that right now. They're not going to have an opportunity like they have this year or next year. They might be a competitive team. They might be a playoff team, but I don't think they're going to be able to make a run next year. They're not going to have the chips stacked in their favor. I really don't believe that. So they either have to do it this year, which I still think the Chiefs somehow are going to win the Super Bowl by 3 points, only because I know that this is the way the NFL has been set up. This is the Goodell money. And, we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's next weekend at 3 o'clock. This Sunday, and then you also have the Bills and the Chiefs. I would love to see Josh Allen beat the Chiefs and get to the Super Bowl, but like I said, there's two entities going. You have to go against the refs, and you have to go against the Chiefs. And they're going to favor Patrick Mahomes in these games because it's already set up well in advance. So we'll see where it goes as far as that happens. So, but yes, it was an interesting weekend. The Detroit Lions were the biggest like disappointment because they just never showed up to the football game. As far, I mean, offensively they got stuff done, but if you Josh or Jared Goff, that's his name. Jared Goff has to play better football. He has to be able to make better reads. He can't be throwing into double coverage, and I don't know if he can do that. I think they might want to seriously consider getting another quarterback in there and trying to figure it out without him. I said this before. He's not the most diverse quarterback or the most athletic quarterback to be in there right now. I feel like Teddy Bridgewater played better in those 3 plays that he played than Jared Goff played the entire game. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, that's the X-Men analysis tonight. We're going to have 2 good games. We're going to have the Buffalo Bills at Kansas City and the Commander Skins against the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see what happens. I feel like it's going to be a rematch from 2 years ago, and somehow the Chiefs are going to win another Super Bowl by 3, but I don't know. We'll see what we got. Anyway, I'm going to get off. X-Men out.